After weeks of national trauma, thousands turned out to see Iran's supreme leader in a rare show of strength. The men cheered and chanted as Ali Khamenei railed against Iran's enemies.
Breaking news tonight, the shockwaves from the U.S. strike in Iraq that killed Iran's top commander.
We took action last night to stop a war.
I think what's so dangerous about this moment is that the president seems to be claiming that he and he alone can make the decision to kill a high-level government official of another country. He doesn't have to consult Congress. He doesn't have to tell the American people. That puts us in a situation where our democracy is really at risk. President Trump ordered a strike to kill General Qasem Soleimani, who was a high-level government official for the government of Iran. And in response, Iran, a few days later, struck U.S. air bases in Iraq. So normally, if the president wants to take a significant military action, what he should do is go to Congress and explain why that strike is necessary, particularly a strike like this that has the potential to ignite a regional war. It has become easier for presidents to take the nation to war now than probably ever before. And that's partially because every president kind of pushes the envelope a little bit further.
We have intervened to stop a massacre.
Think, for example, of President Obama's decision to use military force in Libya in 2011. And when he did that, he didn't seek congressional authorization. We're in a really dangerous moment where President Trump seems to be claiming that he alone gets to decide whether to wage a war. And if he gets away with it, what that does is it suggests that one man can wage the world's most destructive power without having to go to anyone for advice, for consent, or even inform them.
Spokesman for the wicked government of America keeps saying that we are standing with the Iranian people. You are lying. If you do stand with the Iranian people, it is because you want to stick your poisoned dagger into the chest of the Iranian nation. You haven't been able to do that so far, and you won't be able to do a damn thing.
His intervention comes after the country's top military commander was killed by US forces earlier this month, triggering a nationwide outpouring of grief and a tragic stampede which saw scores killed. Then came what Iran said was an accidental downing of a passenger jet, killing all 176 people on board. Angry protests engulfed the capital. The Ayatollah lamented the crash, but said Iran was being manipulated.
Some people follow and are guided by American televisions and English radio that try to portray this incident in such a way that the deaths of these two martyrs would be forgotten.
It was probably inevitable that the Iranians were going to do something, and as far as the Americans are concerned, what we've seen so far not as bad as what some people were predicting. And as you heard in that report, it does seem to have been relatively carefully choreographed. The suggestion there that some targets were deliberately missed. There was the fact the Iraqi Prime Minister said that he'd had a tip-off on all of this. As such, Donald Trump does get to use his so-called off-ramp, and as you heard him there, being a little bit more measured than he has been in recent days, kind of de-escalating his language. Is it over? No, because the status quo ante, what we're likely to see, I think, is what some people were predicting might happen initially, namely a continuation of the proxy warfare and Iranian influence spreading in the region in which General Soleimani specialised. And of course, Iran there still has plenty of options, various proxies in Iraq, in Yemen, in Syria, in Lebanon. Another point to mention is, of course, the nuclear deal. You saw Donald Trump giving his version of events there. his policy in which he will feel vindicated is simply to attempt to smash Iran into submission, hoping that plus sanctions will help them abandon uranium enrichment. The Europeans, of course, have a slightly more sceptical view on that front, as we've been hearing from some European ministers today.
The inferno was scattered, fragments of plane and debris burning over a large area in the moments after impact. In the light of day, the scale of this accident was revealed across farmland on the outskirts of Tehran. Among the wreckage still smouldering, poignant insights into the lives that have been lost, and ranks of body bags containing the remains of the dead. But, say eyewitnesses, the death toll could have been even worse.
When I arrived, the plane and passenger bodies had been shattered into many pieces. The only thing that the pilot managed to do was steer the plane towards a soccer field near here, instead of a residential area back there. It crashed near the field and into a canal.
In Ukraine, mourners brought flowers to honour the dead, while its government announced an end to flights to Iran for now, in the wake of the tragedy.
A plane above a place named Paran, near Tehran's airport, the area where the Ukrainian airliner stopped transmitting its signal before it crashed Wednesday. All right, now, here we go. We're going to take a look at the video together, and here it is. I think you're going to see it right there. Look at the left side. There's the missile coming from the left side of your screen, and then it hits the plane. We'll look at it again one more time. As you see, as it begins to actually do that. This thing is going to loop, by the way. Stay with me because it's video, taking it from the top. And you'll see, and I think it rolls a couple of different times. You see the video come from the left, way before that smoke. It comes from the left, then you see like a flash, and then you see the crash. Here it is again. See that flash? That was the flash where it actually hits the plane. And just moments prior to that, you actually see what appears to be a missile coming from the left side of the screen. Now, let me tell you what the New York Times is saying. They're saying that visual and sonic clues in the footage matched flight path information and satellite imagery of the area where the plane crashed. Satellite images were taken on Thursday and provided by the Times to an organization called Maxar Technologies. That's a space technology company. They say they use that organization to help verify the video's authenticity. So obviously, this is a story of import, one which we were going to not go with based on the fact that there were just not enough information. But with this new development, we are going to zero in on this story for you as well.
До з'ясування причин.
We decided to suspend all the activities of all Ukrainian aviation companies in Iranian airspace until the causes of this tragedy have become clear.
There were 167 passengers and 9 crew members on board the flight to Ukraine. Of that, 82 people were Iranian, 63 Canadian, 11 Ukrainian, 10 Swedish, 4 Afghan and 3 German, with the same number of British dead. They were Saeed Tamasebi and Sam Zakai, both engineers, and entrepreneur Mohammed Kadkodazadeh from Brighton. Investigations have begun. The black box flight recorder has been recovered. Iranian authorities say it won't be given to plane manufacturer Boeing, but may be passed on to authorities in another country. Flight accident experts say the evidence so far is inconclusive, but they say it indicates a horrendous impact.
The degree of breakup suggests a high vertical speed. I'm unclear about the horizontal extent of the wreckage. Putting that together, there's clearly been a loss of control and a high-speed ground impact.
There is so far no evidence linking the crash with the crisis engulfing Iran or the missile attacks carried out further to the west in Iraq. But there are major questions to be asked. How did a plane with a solid safety record simply fall out of the sky just after takeoff with such a huge loss of life?
The aftermath of an attack by Syrian government forces and their Russian allies in Idlib province. The attack happened hours before a Russian and Turkish brokered ceasefire was due to come into effect. Volunteer white helmet paramedics were there within minutes to do what they've done thousands of times during the war, try to save the lives of civilians.
There have been several airstrikes on 2 different cities. We went to the sites, and while we were helping people, there were more airstrikes. We're sure there are people trapped under the rubble. We're still searching for survivors.
Al-Nayrab was one of several villages hit by Russian and Syrian government forces in the last 24 hours. This grandfather is burying 4 out of his 5 granddaughters.
I wasn't here when the airstrikes happened, but I was told my granddaughters had been killed. When we came, we found their bodies. Their parents are in the hospital having surgeries. Only one 3-month-old baby survived.
More than 1,300 civilians have been killed since the government launched its offensive to retake Idlib province in 2018. This territory is the last stronghold of groups opposed to President Bashar al-Assad. Russia, which supports Assad, and Turkey, which backs the rebels, announced a ceasefire on Thursday, which has now come into effect. But it was too late for these children.
The airstrikes led to a massacre. Most of the victims are children. These are their dead bodies. I want the world to see these children. Look at the crimes of Bashar al-Assad.
Last August, Russia and Turkey agreed a de-escalation zone in Idlib province, but attacks continued, and many here don't believe this ceasefire will last either.
Multiple aftershocks in Puerto Rico this morning as millions there wait to see if President Trump will sign a major disaster declaration to authorize much needed aid. 4,000 people are still in shelters and many others are sleeping outside after yet another powerful earthquake Saturday. This video shows the mayor of hard-hit Guanica running away mid-interview as powerful tremors shook the region just a day before. Our lead national correspondent David Begnaud is there now at the top of a mountain where people are seeking refuge. David, who have you met up there?
Anthony, we've met nearly 100 people, most of whom don't even know each other, who came here about a week ago and set up camp. There are camps around this entire property, which, by the way, is owned by the government. The gate was open and people were allowed to set up here. They've set up makeshift kitchens and they're not moving. They're not going anywhere. They left their home at the bottom of the mountain and came to the highest point they could find. For most of them, it's not because their homes were damaged or destroyed. It's because they simply don't feel safe there. The aftershocks continue daily. There are multiple aftershocks that you usually feel, and that's why people say they feel safer right here. Here's what happened over the last 48 hours. It happened Saturday morning, just before 9 a.m. A 5.9 magnitude earthquake centered off the southwestern coast rocked the entire island of Puerto Rico. It was the strongest quake since last week's devastating 6.4, which killed one person and damaged hundreds of buildings. Saturday's earthquake did not injure or kill anyone, but there were landslides and new damage to homes and businesses.
You never know what can happen. Anything can just go just like this. Love your family. Appreciate them. You know, just thank God every day for what you have.